From your parents' home or maybe your grandparents' home, do you remember the dresser? The dresser that held everything from crockery and cutlery to food and sometimes treats. Well, this year, the Irish dresser is being celebrated in calendar form, and it's being released just in time for Christmas. Now, the folklorist and storyteller Michael Fortune is behind this project, and he joins me now. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning, Grant.
Really good to talk to you today. Michael, why the dresser? Why the focus on the dresser?
It's a funny one, really. I suppose I would have grown up with one at home here in County Wexford, and I suppose the seed was always planted. I've been documenting them and looking at them for years. I was watching how they changed, how they became from something that was really practical in someone's life to almost becoming a shrine, almost this thing, especially for women in their homes. And I kind of knew that was there. And my own grandmother, she passed away when she was 103 in 2015. But one of the conditions she said was no one was to touch her dresser. She didn't put it as polite now as that. And I suppose when she passed away, it was at the back of my mind. So I would have contacted the arts officer, Melanie Scott, there in Tipperary, and four other counties, with the idea of going around, because I asked maybe sometimes it's your way of dealing with things too, and with the idea that I would work in four counties, documenting the dressers and the stories behind them before, I suppose, just because it was fresh in my own mind. So I undertook a whole body of research, and we had a lovely exhibition and a talk and around different parts of Tipperary for Vialton in 2015. But then the photographs, yourself, when you meet someone, you're brought into their lives, and you take these gorgeous photographs, but we're sitting on a hard drive, and I said to myself, what am I going to do with these at all? And I tied with the idea of doing a book, and then I said that's just going to be too much work, because I had other work on. And I love the idea. One thing that struck me, I kept noticing dressers I kept noticing calendars beside dressers in people's kitchens. And I like the idea then of basically having this thing that I have a feature per month of one person's dresser, the story behind it, and you can turn the next page. And I think we all need to turn the next page with 2020.
That's for sure. It has struck me, Michael, now I'm open to correction on this, but from poor people to rich people, the dresser was in all those homes, and maybe the quality was different, but the dresser was there.
Oh, absolutely, completely. Like, we were a farm labouring background, and there was a dresser in our house. So you had from the small farmer to the big farmer to the landed gentry. And I would have even spotted that in Tipperary as well, to be fair, an agricultural county. So it was there. And that's a really interesting one as well, even to spot that. One thing I spotted in Tipperary as well, and again in Wexford, what surprised me, was the amount of dressers that were made as wedding presents. A lot of men made with their grandparents back, you're talking in the 1900s, early 1900s.
The men made them for their bride.
Made them for their brides. Nowadays, you give the credit card and you order. You go to IKEA, but no, that's what's lovely. That really struck me. I remember there's one man in Rosscray who was made as a wedding present. But yeah, and you start to spot styles. You'll start to spot Tipperary styles. You'll spot a Mayo style. You'll spot a Wexford style. And even depends on what carpenter was there. You may have a carpenter in Care, and that carpenter then will have that particular style. You'll see that in 5 homes around town. But that's what's kind of interesting as well. There's loads of ins I find with it.
Yeah, and did we import the tradition from Europe, or where did it goes back to the 1800s, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, probably, yeah, absolutely. And like ours, like we're kind of, some people would even call them, I've got a Welsh dresser, It's an import in. But the funny thing, it's an import and an export, because people from Tipperary, from Wexford Water, from South Kilkenny and all went over to Newfoundland, and they brought over with them over to Newfoundland. So they've got an extension of our dresser, that kind of way. Just give or take a few little changes.
Well, there's so many Wexford people over there, I suppose.
I was talking to a woman the other night, and her family were McGraths from Tipperary, and she showed me a dresser that he made. So you're talking late 1800s. I don't know where in Tip he was from now, but yeah.
What struck me as well with some of and I remember it from home as well, the willow pattern. Yeah, and that took me back so many years, Michael, because that held pride of place in so many dressers, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a kind of a bit of a showpiece as well. Yeah. And you have to remember as well, the houses were basic enough, and for women to take pride in these, in particular, there were women who that was their kitchen, that was absolutely everything, From your foodstuffs down in the bottom to that little display you had on top. And it's interesting, even when even when they became almost like they stopped using the stuff on you know, so many people would have dressers and they don't use the delft, they don't use the bits and pieces on them. In fact, you actually put little souvenirs on them now, you know, they're almost little shrines where a grandchild went off on their school tour or something like that. So you'll see that.
Were they replaced by the glass case?
They did. That came in. That was, I suppose, what are you talking for? A bit later again, the glass case came in. You know, I suppose, come here, you can understand why the glass case came in too, because people were tired of dusting them. You know, So because having a dresser is a great thing, but
And then some of them ended up because I heard you speak about that. Some of them ended up out in sheds, and you know they were used for different purposes. But the men still took care of them, Michael.
Oh, come here to me. One of my favourite ever dressers is up in the Horse and Jockey. There was a man in Tipperary. I don't mention the man's name, but come here to me. I was just the most amazing dresser in the shed, just covered in bike parts and tractor parts and every kind of part in it, but he still was very proud to show this off to me. That was a complete extreme, but in other extremes you will actually have men have them in their sheds, and there'll be vice grips in the drawers, there'll be tins of paint up on the shelves, but they'll still talk about him in the same way. Oh, that was my mother's dresser, you know, that kind of way. They won't throw them out, they're not ready to throw them out yet, you know, that kind of way.
What were they made of largely, or did it depend from region to region?
It depended. I found a lot of them. I'm not an expert in kind of the woodwork, but I saw a lot of kind of pine. There were just a lot of cheap materials that would have been painted. Now that's some of them kind of the ones I would have seen. That's why the paint was there. The paint was there to cover them up. There's actually a very fortunate. There's a great guy in Tipperary called Anthony O'Donoghue who did a fantastic film called Irish Country Furniture, and I think you're blessed to have him in Tipperary. He would be the man to know. He's the go-to man I would go to for particulars about furniture. You know, I'm interested in the stories and the kind of people's connections. I know he is too. But yeah, if I don't know whether you've seen it or not. There's a film he made called Irish Country Furniture.
No, I didn't. I must look it up.
Irish folk furniture. Right. Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah,
absolutely very gorgeous. Good. I've been trying to rack my brain for a poem that we learned in school. Oh, to have a little house, but there's a mention of the dresser in it.
Oh, there is. You're right. That's sparking a memory with me. And yeah, you're right.
And she talks about the speckled stuff on the. I must root that out as well, because
same as me. I must do the same. Yeah.
You said as well that sometimes you could find recipes and stuck to the doors, and you know. Little hints you'd be surprised. You'd see things like in the backs of doors recipes, and the recipe could have been written by someone 80 years ago, 90 years ago. You know, for making a loaf of bread or a cake, and that's one thing I've seen as well. You'd see little things as well where it had to be little marks on it, where there could be someone brought in who was trying to saw a piece of wood on top of it and cut a bit out of it, or someone knocked the handle off it, or one woman showed me one day as well where the mouse used to always come in and get at the flour in the bottom of it, so her father he flattened the jam pot lid and nailed it to it to stop the mouse coming in. And it's funny that I suppose, Gareth, come here, once you allow people a chance to focus and talk about these things, these memories will start to flood back. Absolutely, yeah. I'm a huge fan of the salvage programmes on the satellite channels, you know, where they go around and they buy up stuff. And Irish furniture of that ilk is now very sought after.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think our community, we were throwing out stuff in the 70s, you know.
Brought in the Formica tables and all of that instead, yeah.
Yeah. And they've got their own little bit of a charm to it, but you're right, there's kind of, we throw out stuff. It takes time. Sometimes you can understand where it's coming from too. We didn't know any better. We wanted to put the past behind us. A lot of us did, you know. We were coming from poor enough places, and we wanted to kind of move on and kind of, you know, embrace new stuff. So you can understand where it comes from. I think it's changed, and hopefully now with education in schools and any chats like this with you on the radio, people will kind of realise, hang on, that's actually important. That's part, you know, me, you know, as rough and ready as it is, it's still important, you know, as an object. Yeah.
Well, listen, congratulations on what's a fantastic project. How can we get hold of the calendar, Michael?
You can order online at the only way you can get it at the moment is, and it's through the dresserproject.ie. So that's the dresserproject.ie, and you can buy them online there. You can pay through credit card or PayPal. We've actually sold out our first batch. We got printed. We were really surprised, I'll be perfectly honest with you. And we've got another batch. It's arriving today from our printers in Kerry. So I'll have them today. So perfectly in time for Christmas.
Very good indeed. Wouldn't it be a lovely present to send overseas to somebody? You know.
Yeah, and that's one thing I forgot to mention. I underestimate this. Most of my work is collecting folklore. But one of the things I noticed, I sat down, and it took me longer than I thought. Every month I've penciled in a little Irish calendar date. I've over 100 Irish calendar dates. So you could have something like visit a certain holy well, St. Swithin's Day, a day to take down the Christmas tree, a day to put up, a day to make pancakes. Because I was kind of looking at dates when you see, you get a diary and you get the bank holiday in Singapore, and there's nothing wrong with a bank holiday in Singapore, but I'd love to see something that would be particular to us. So so that's what I have on it. That's in every month as well. There's little pages.
And there's a particularly Irish date you're remembering as well, like All Souls and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, things like that. Put up your Maybush, things like that. Tipperary, even getting married in May. I'm looking at it here in front of me now. Whatever, getting married in May and you'll rue the day, or if you whitewash in May, you'll wash all your look away. Wait till June. Little bits of it. Because I would have done folklore collections in Tipperary, so there's little bits of things would register with me, and I just pencil them in, and they're lovely too. They'll keep you going during the year as well, as you turn every page.
Well, listen, when COVID is all over, we'd love to have you in studio, because we'd love more time to talk about this kind of thing, particularly with reference to Tipperary, Michael. But in the meantime, it's dresserproject.ie if you want to pick up on some of those calendars. Michael, great to talk to you today.
Thanks a million. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye to you now. That's Michael Fortune speaking to us there. News and information is up next.